Welcome to Deep Dive Film School. I'm Adam Sherlock.
And I'm Adam Pulcher.
And if you like what you see/hear, please like and subscribe. You can find us in all the spaces and places that people what?
Find good media. That's right. Our most active channels are YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm also super active on Letterboxd, so follow me there. Links are in the descriptions, or you can search for my name, Adam Pulcher. All right.
Did you do a letterbox of Bowfinger?
I fucking sure did.
Did you? Nice.
I do it on every movie.
I love it.
I'm really aggressively writing it and starting 2025. So everything behind me, I'm going to rewatch. If I'm rewatching something, I'll write
I love it.
A review.
You know, you said you did make the joke when we were putting together this festival. You were like, are people really falling over themselves for a Bowfinger review in 2025? I would say there are times where I'm like, don't we all need a laugh? No, but I was going to say that like there are times where I'm like, I'll rewatch something that we've decided to put on a list, and I'm like, I don't even give a shit if anybody else ever watches this. I'm just glad that I had an excuse to watch a movie again, and I definitely felt that way watching Bowfinger.
Same. It's been a while since I've seen it, and I've watched this movie a handful of times, so I do love it. Steve Martin's one of my heroes growing up.
Same.
Let's Get Small, I had on LP.
The Jerk.
Yeah, The Jerk. You know, he was just monumental in my childhood growing up, so I've always watched anything he does, and he's never really worked, other than I think Saturday Night Live, worked with Eddie Murphy before, so like what a combination that we've never had before. That's so good here. This is also a love letter to not only filmmaking, scrappy filmmaking, but also like B movies.
Totally.
You know, like this is for the traumas of the world, right?
Totally.
And so there's part of that aspect. There's also a huge shit talking perspective of Hollywood itself and
Scientology,
what it takes. Yeah, the Scientology behind it is part of it. And this is a comedy directed by Miss Piggy, and so you know,
Frank
it is,
Oz.
it
Yes.
is what it is. Yeah, that's.
But I mean, Frank Oz is a great. I mean, he's directed some
tons of great
fantastic
films. Yes.
comedies. Like What About Bob? I mean, he's done some amazing things.
But I'm not denigrating.
No,
Frank
I know.
Oz. He's amazing.
You know, I remember reading the book that Steve Martin wrote, Pure Drivel, and it is so damn funny, and there's a lot of it that's a send-up of Hollywood. There's stories in it that are send-ups of things like the Mensa organization. He obviously also wrote, I'm pretty sure he wrote L.A. Story.
Yes.
And so it's like there's, you know, he loves this kind of critique of the L.A. Hollywood culture anyway.
And both him and Murphy have seen this 1,000 times at this point, right?
Oh, yeah.
In 1999, at this point, they've both been huge stars at their peaks, and they're probably in a valley when they're making Bowfinger.
Yep.
But that's a perfect time for them to make this movie because it's such a statement on all of the stuff we were just saying.
And my memories before watching this again, obviously the standout character to me was always Jiff.
So,
but
is that Eddie Murphy's best character?
This is the thing. Like, it's such a fantastic, like
it's his white guy, basically.
It is his white guy, but it's even weirder than that because like he would love to have a job someday running errands, right? I mean, it's
so good.
It's the strangest character, but you also
get some pencils.
You also care about him, and but I'd say that while that still is true this time around, the character of Kit that Eddie Murphy is playing is incredible.
Keep it together.
And then so much of Steve Martin, some of the funniest moments to me watching it this time was actually Steve Martin's stuff.
I agree.
And I don't think I really remember, not that I didn't think it was good, but I didn't remember
subtle
that.
Things about his apartment, his Velcro ponytail.
Dude, I've been laughing about, if I just may, and I'll do it right now. But I've been laughing at this for fucking days. Did you know that Tom Cruise had no idea he was in that vampire movie until 2 years later? Yeah. The premise of that somehow
it's so good.
Tom Cruise didn't know he was in Interview with a Vampire for 2 whole years. And it said was
you have the Scientology
such a straight face.
Yeah.
I like that line I don't know why, but it's like every like couple of hours I think about it again and I start laughing.
There's so many lines in here.
My
and him
God, it's so
trying
good.
to basically fake it till he can make it, right?
Yeah.
He goes into his ceiling and finds $2,184.
Every movie costs $2,184.
Take out all the stuff. Every movie costs.
Those scenes with him and who I usually don't like, Jamie Kennedy at all, but the scenes of the two of them together because Kennedy's playing the straight man to just like, and it isn't like Steve Martin in this isn't the jerk. He isn't. He's dumb.
He's a producer, a director.
But he's a dreamer,
Yes.
right? And the best script he's ever read is made by his accountant called Chubby Rain.
Chubby Rain.
Right? And he's like, this is the one. I read a script that changed my life. And
Chubby Rain.
and you're like, well, he is a manipulator and he's trying to do all these, like, he's got all these ins and stuff. This isn't a cynical character that Steve Martin's playing here.
Normally plays. But
he's a true believer.
But the comedy is just as stupid.
Yes.
Throughout of just as much as The Man with Two Brains or something like that, right?
Exactly.
It's just as stupid, but yes, he is more of a dreamer than some of those those kind of idiotic characters that we've known him to be.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can kind of make a character too dumb.
Yeah.
And that can be too much, right?
Whereas here it's like
no, not at all. Here
he has feelings. He does have morals. Like there's morals that he's willing to break.
His inspirational speech about the FedEx man showing up to
is
his door.
so good.
And we have to talk about the other people in this movie. Heather Graham is amazing.
Yes.
Christine Baranski, who is so good. She's like this Gloria Steinem, like amazing, like
their nails,
aged actress, or whatever. Jamie Kennedy, like you mentioned, Terrence Stamp, Robert Downey Jr. The whole scene where he just rips the phone out of the thing and he's talking to him like he's like,
hanging.
oh, kid? Yeah, but like it's hanging and they're just like, what the fuck is going on?
It's so amazing,
so good.
And then obviously Eddie Murphy in these dual roles.
Yes,
the character when we first meet Kit, the whole Shakespeare spear shaker line that he put in an algorithm to find out how many
Hasta La Vista, baby.
Yeah, how many times KKK is in the script.
Yeah.
All of that. My favorite is the Ted Kennedy is 1/10 black. Look at him, he's different. Like that's so. I believe the Laker girls need to be taken down a peg of two. Like that. Like all of those things are so insane.
Mindhead.
Mindhead. Which again, like then when he was asked about it, you can just fucking picture Steve Martin's face going, "No, they weren't exclusively the inspiration for Mindhead. No." Right, and you're like, well, of course it is, but they have the little pyramids that they all wear on their heads.
But no, it really is the filmmaking part of this is the fun part. The creating a community, these people getting ramped up and doing this one thing together. But to do the movie they want to do, they have to trick Kit into being in this movie. Like he didn't know he was in the movie, and so they find out where he is and show up and shoot around him.
Yeah, which is a funny enough concept.
Pretty brilliant.
Before you add in the idea that Kit's a psychopath
And
who
Eddie
does
Murphy.
believe that what is he? He's like, and what do we believe now? And he's like, there is not a giant shoe that will step on me at any second. Right? Like that's one of his beliefs. His other one is and even though I may feel like it, I will probably not ignite and burst into flames, right? And so he's already super paranoid, believes in aliens, believes in all this stuff.
This alien movie chasing him is pretty brilliant.
It breaks his life.
And again, Steve Martin is perfect in this role. He's just so good. He's seen this person or been this person to some degree.
Yeah.
Gotcha, suckers.
I don't think I realized all the other times I watched it. I think this is the only time that I've ever realized that his character of Bowfinger has never made a movie. I don't think I realized that until this time around, where he's like, I'm gonna make a movie. And you're like, then what is Bowfinger International Entertainment? Right? And there's all those like photos of him as an actor or plays he was in when he was like a teenager.
Sure, yeah.
And so I'm like, what's he been doing? Is he just an agent? And now he's decided he's finally going to make a movie?
I mean, he plays all the roles, right? When he sneaks into Eddie Murphy's house.
Yeah.
And he's like, the script is butter. It's cheeky, baby. It's butter. Just all
butter.
Like he's supposed to be just delivering the.
And he's like, this is. Oh, that's the
baby.
thing. He's an endless
Cheeky,
optimist. He's an endless optimist where he's like, he asks the valet, he's like, does anybody know Kit Ramses? Like he just thinks like, if I can just get this guy,
and he figures it out.
He
And
does
the
figure
thing is,
it out.
He's built a world where we just believe it and just love that it's going to happen. The way they shoot it on set is really fun.
Yeah.
And then of course things change when Jiff comes in. They can do a lot more with him in the background.
Are you willing to cut your hair?
Yes.
It's better if somebody else does it.
Yeah, just stupid jokes.
It's so but there is a tenderness to the character of Bowfinger, where when he first lies to that whole crew, he's like, it's like he's working it out in his head in real time, where he's like
a good lie.
I have to, it was a beautiful lie. Like, I have to figure out how to do this. One of the best background jokes that's happening along the way, and the beginning of it is so jarring that it feels like it came right out of Blazing Saddles, is where they need to get a crew. So they literally go down to the border.
I was going to ask if that holds up or not. There's a few jokes that are like,
Here's why it holds up.
Because they become film nerds.
I
agree.
They're sitting and arguing about, like, is Clockwork Orange better than Citizen Kane? And they're like reading film books, and they like,
I agree.
He's like, we opened the aperture, so that we could get more of a cinema, like all of those elements are why that first one, which is in really bad taste, totally works, because by the end, like,
I thought you were going to go with the Heather Graham joke of, is this where I go to be an actress? And her basically just sleeping her way to the top.
It's a pretty good one. I mean, the only thing that aged the most poorly about that is that that's based on Anne Heche.
Yeah.
Who, R.I.P., who, when she was first getting her start, did date Steve Martin, and I think that was his.
And Ellen DeGeneres is kind of
that's his thing. His critique was that, like, oh, now she's a lesbian. So I'm like, that aged a little poorly, I guess, because she's dead.
It's not,
but
I mean, unless you know that is about Anne Heche, it is what it is. But I'm sure she's not the first girl to show up and say, where do I be an actress?
Yeah, and then sleep her way to the top. Like, I think that is an ongoing gag that is also pretty good.
Again, probably dated at this point, and you probably wouldn't see it in a movie now. But I am so glad this movie exists. Stealing equipment, shooting on the fly, just the excitement of the process is really, really fun. And they just keep the scrappiness around everything keeps going, and and all while we're kind of battling this Hollywood superstar who's going crazy and keep it together.
And he says, Kit Ramses actually says the special needs Oscar joke before Tropic Thunder does, right? Because what he says is he's like, I'm not going to say the R word. He says it in this, but he's like, you got to either be that or be a slave. And he's like, that's what I want. I want to be both. And he's like, go out and go and find me the new script, Bucky the Wonder Slave. I was like, oh my God. And you have to wonder, like, how much of that is written and how much of that are they just letting Murphy riff?
Oh, I think they probably are letting him riff.
Because
it is Robert Downey Jr. and a couple other people, like, especially when he's Jiff. I feel like,
oh my God,
sometimes he is definitely, oh Heavenly Father, oh Heavenly God, like that.
Oh Heavenly God, yeah, oh Heavenly God.
Him running across his face when he's running across the freeway.
Oh my
is fucking
God,
so.
Why these stunt drivers are driving really fast. It makes me. There was stuff in this that I was laughing so hard that it makes me sad.
Be a star.
Awesome. It makes me sad that Eddie Murphy hasn't had a better career with being able to do that stuff, because it's like,
I mean, he's had a pretty good career. What stuff are you talking about?
Well, what I mean is, like, okay, so he does the Nutty Professor and he does those kinds of things.
I mean, it was coming to America, all of that.
Right. And you're like, well, I'm really thinking of, like, because Nutty Professor's after this, right? Or is it before this?
I think it's around the same time.
And I think that then that sort of became its own sort of pastiche that later people kind of rolled their eyes at. But he was so good at creating these. The character Jiff is so different than anything I've ever seen before that I'm like, I wish there would have been more stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's that because it's Steve Martin also, there's a reining in and it doesn't go as off the rails as it does with, like, the Clumps or some of that other shit that he did later.
Yeah, I'm sure that's part of it. Frank Oz as well.
Yeah. But it's just so incredible, and it's so endlessly funny.
It keeps being funny too.
Yeah.
And they keep hitting those notes even when they find out that Jiff is actually his brother. And they start getting into conscious and everything, and they're like, hey man, Robert De Niro couldn't look like Kit Ramsey. You look like Kit Ramsey. Not everyone could do that.
And he's like, yeah, but when I get coffee for people, it's like, I got that coffee, I'm
helping people.
I got those napkins. I put them in the bag, and he just keeps talking and talking.
And then Bowfinger, as the producer director, is just like, he's mashing it all together. And he's like, all right, I need you to go to the office store and get us some pencil, and I want you to come back and I want you to just sharpen them.
Well, because
I want you to find out when your brother leaves and where he's gonna be.
Because he knows he can't use him, because he has that wonderful moment when they're all at the diner where he's like, you guys like me for me, and he's like, oh great, now I'm a producer with a conscience, right? Yeah. So he makes sure that he's like,
I want to hang out with Jeff.
I want to get him sharp. I gotta get those pencils sharp. All that stuff is so it's such a lived-in, amazing character, even down to like the weird baggy clothes that he wears and the squinting and all of that. It's so
the head melting effects.
Oh my god!
When the aliens take over, and it's like just this goo.
And I love that it's like all those little things where they're stealing Robert Downey Jr.'s car, right? And then everyone are the worst actors. Heather Graham's bad physical acting might be one of my favorite things, because it's the most uncomfortable looking thing you've ever seen, where she's just wiggling her ass nonstop as she's delivering these lines.
To your point earlier, though, this movie just has a flow, and that's what you want in a comedy, right? Is it to keep going, to keep being pithy and fun, and like enjoy it. And us as lovers of movies and how the sausage is made, this is just such a fun one. So from two comedy icons that have a perspective and have been through this process so many times. Well,
and literally it has such there's no downtime, right? Like even the do you have a permit to shoot here ends up paying off later with the cop being in the movie and being the worst actor
for sure, and then
that you've ever seen.
Them shooting B-roll following around ends up getting the movie made, and we get the premiere at the end, which is so good. And we get to see little clips of everything.
And it's got a heart of gold in that way. It's like it is, like I said,
and he has the worst seat in the house.
Yeah, he's like not bad. Like but he's an endless optimist,
exactly, which I love.
And I think it somehow threads this really special needle of having a mean-spirited premise that we never feel bad at laughing about, because Kit is such a psychopath.
And
that he
Bowfinger's so passionate.
Yeah, he pulls that part off. Bowfinger is so passionate about it that his stupidity and naivety never comes off as us rolling our eyes at him. We're with him. We also want the movie to succeed. And then it manages to do the whole like, mind head thing also, while just being silly and not being too cruel. Even if you were a Scientologist, like it still somehow like manages to make that part be funny too.
He doesn't necessarily point the direct finger at somebody or something, but the hints are there.
The hints are there.
If you know what's going on.
Especially my favorite is when he goes, well, now that you've had some time to think about it, what does head want to do about it? Like all those things, you're just like, it's somehow
so subtle.
It somehow still manages to have this heart of gold at its center.
It's true. He gets his recognition, they get it, and Heather Graham gets to date Kit Ramsey now.
And they get the one final
and they get a Taiwanese shoot.
Yeah, and he gets his
first ninjas.
He gets it's so good. It's the kung fu fighting
So
and just
dumb.
like the worst action movie shots ever.
Yeah.
But it's like everybody gets their dream, right? And even Kit Ramsey does technically get what he's complaining about in the beginning, right? Gotcha, suckers.
Yep.
He gets his hasta la vista baby moment, right?
True.
Some of my favorite moments watching back over it this time are actually Eddie Murphy as Kit.
Did you know that role was originally written for Keanu Reeves?
No!
But Eddie Murphy wanted to work with Steve Martin, and he's like, I want to do this. And then they went through the script together and like what would change, and wrote it more for him.
I can't imagine it being anybody. I mean,
I think it would probably lean into the first guy more, you know,
Yeah.
the first kind of the hunk, the main.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it would have been more about that guy than it would have been about Eddie Murphy and this big Hollywood star and all this stuff.
Because it is like when he's talking about how he has to show it to the Laker girls, and he starts crying, and he's like, but I have to. Like, that is so funny.
Terrence Stamp is his therapist.
Oh my God. But then later when he believes, it's like when his brain finally breaks and Heather Graham is like, and we must da, 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 and then he just suddenly goes, we must hurry. And then he turns to his friends and he goes, I'm Keith. And they drive away. They're like, oh, they broke his brain. Like it took a couple of weeks, but they've officially broken his brain.
Absolutely.
Where he thinks he's Keith now. Oh, and he has plutonium, apparently.
That's right.
All of these things. It's legal for me to have that.
Last thing I'll say, my favorite scene has to, because we don't really see this with everyone else, but we see it with Steve Martin and Bowfinger, is his date with Daisy and how she kind of lures him in and whatever, and all of the fake shit that he's doing. And he's like pouring water into wine and like all these different bottles together and pretends to be opening a new bottle when he comes in.
She's like, this is great. I can drink it all night and I never get drunk.
That's right. And she's like, I thought we'd go out to a nice restaurant. He's like, oh, I thought we'd stay at it. You like Vienna sausages? Like little like stupid things. And they have the same likes and dislikes. And like they go through the whole process that she probably has done all these other times too. But just the little shit that it...
And literally saying out loud, I will never betray you, as he puts her credit card into his pocket.
Yeah, and like, I will never take for granted your trust.
Yeah. And you're like, and you're like, oh yeah, this is that same totally shallow aspect.
It's a truly underrated comedy. I
think.
My
my God.
It's so brilliant.
I was crying. I was laughing so hard because it's one after another joke. Just absolutely. My final thought, is they didn't need to do it, but the sight gag of his dog in high heels is so funny. And it just keeps going and going and going. And I had completely forgotten about that joke. And I was like, oh my God, you didn't have to do that.
The scrappiness of the filmmaking.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, the scrappiness of it. And just like, we don't need permission. We don't need permission. Tom Cruise didn't know he was in that vampire movie.
So real. So good. If you haven't seen it, hopefully you have if you're at this point of the podcast. But brilliant movie, especially if you love those two and their sense of humor. We grew up with it, so it's easy for us to like.
Very much so.
And the commentary as well. So I think our next, we're still deciding on that one scene, but our last movie of the festival will be Ed Wood. And then we're going to have a Forgotten Gem, Living in Oblivion as well. We'll figure out that one scene for next week, but please join us. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube are our most active channels, and you can find me on Letterboxd. Everything's in the description below, so please check us out there, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, you guys.
Thanks.